I'm a big mumbler. My friend tells me she couldn't understand what I was saying. She had to listen to it twice. I'm going to try to enunciate more clearly, not mumble. So I was inspired to sort of talk about meditation. I got 18 hours of teaching on video on my website and my YouTube channel. It's kind of fun to watch it on the YouTube channel sometimes if that's your big screen. It's a little hard to find it, some of it, but anyway, that's a thought. It's all on the website. It's all on the YouTube channel. Craig Thompson on YouTube. I usually just do Craig Thompson Alexander and it'll go right to it, or Craig Thompson Meditation will get you there too, probably. Sometimes it's hard to find things on YouTube, but if you get the name, you go on your iPad and you find the name, then you put Craig Thompson and the name of the video, you should get to it. Not always. It's kind of screwed, but whatever. Anyway, my thought was to, most of what I've done is on meditation, really. I mean, Alexander technique to me it's the skillful means of mindfulness. It's meditation. All this little activities, gazing is meditation. Different things I do with movement and stuff, that's all really meditation in a way. Meditation and movement. All stuff about the hands, that's meditation, really. But anyway, but I've never really, well, whatever. As you progress in meditation, what you do, you're applying very skillful means and wisdom results. It's all about alternating shamatha and vipassana. I've talked about that a lot in these videos, but I'm going to probably talk about it a little more here. I'm kind of going to work backwards maybe a little bit. I'm just going to go right now, my approach to meditation at the current moment, which is, I'm not saying that somebody else should take that approach, but I'm just throwing a few things out there and see what sticks. But then I'll kind of work backward and maybe, do more of the groundwork, even though I've done a lot of groundwork. If you go back and look at some of that stuff, a lot of stuff is there that you could bring forward or whatever. But in this little series, I'm just going to talk about what I'm experiencing now and my skillful means I'm using now, and maybe work backwards a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to do anyway. I don't know how to do this. I don't know. I've just come to a point where to me, it's just all about looseness. It's all about looseness. Or nakedness, you could say. Simplicity. It's so simple. It's so simple. We have a tendency to fixate and freeze. I was working with this idea of resilience. I work a lot. I have alignment, posture, relaxation. This gets into vipassana and shamatha too, but relaxation is really about vipassana. But then this third level or third process or third skillful means is I listen to Will Johnson some. Anyway, he calls that resilience. For a long time, I didn't really understand it. I was like stopped because it wasn't coming from my Mahamudra teachers or my Dzogchen teachers. But it's like sort of like Vipassana meditation. It's, I don't know. Anyway, through my examinations of that and kind of looking at that whole thing, I had a revelation at one point, and I realized that 99% of my energy was being used to freeze myself. I mean, I've done a lot of meditation. This is only like a year and a half ago or something, or I was just kind of working with this idea of resilience and trying to figure out what they were talking about exactly. And I just realized all my energy is directed toward shutting down, toward not a free flow of energy, not a alive. My friend has a great phrase. I'll have to look it up. I always forget it, but it's alive. It's free flowing. So that was quite a revelation, and then I started to really work with resilience and understand that, in a way, my most important task is just to not do the freezing I'm habituated to do. All I got to do is not do the freezing, which I have always done. So it's kind of my meditation skillful means aspect at this point is just don't freeze. Don't shut it down. Don't block it. Don't just let it be natural as it is. It's a little more to it than that, I'm sure. I mean, I've built up a lot of how I work with thoughts, how I work with my gazing. But it's come to the point where really the only point, ordinarily I just loosen, I just loosen. I just stop freezing. I just stop freezing. That's it. Everything is so simple, really. That's the way Dzogchen is, in the beginning, you're like climbing a mountain, but at some point, it's effortless. The effortlessness is it. The non-meditation aspect is it. It's very powerful to meditate, and if you don't meditate, you're going to lose your way, possibly. But the main point is what happens after you finish your session, and do you go back to your old frozen state, or are you somehow, but even in my meditation, it was still the frozen state, When I looked deep into my meditation, what is going on here? It was just the old frozen state. It wasn't anything. So it's just this freshness, just unfreezing. Like gazing, unhooking. Just unhook, that's it. There's nothing else. Great simplicity. Things just flow at that point. I mean, there's nothing to do, but things flow. Things are alive. Things are happening. Not much to say about it, honestly. Not much to be said. It's like Alexander. Alexander's just so like that. Alexander is exactly like that. Alexander is exactly like that. It's so easy to put too much effort, and then they're just like pushing a rock up a hill. Everything's still frozen. Everything's still a struggle. But there's the right effort, and you just all of a sudden you're not frozen, and you wasn't any difficult thing. It wasn't any heavy lift. It was just like unfreezing, and that's it. You flow for a while, and then you lose it. So the man's talking about black diffusion. You're either like manifesting you're either with a rigpa, experiencing some kind of rigpa, or you're in black diffusion. You're lost in something else. And we just have a habit of freezing. If we're not really alive and flowing and free, then we're gonna be stuck. It's just how we've been so stuck forever, and it's just our way. Our default setting is to be frozen. I like the way Saraha talks about it in the Royal Song of Saraha. He says, it's like our Buddha nature is like free-flowing water. Pristine, clear, beautiful, cool, cold water. But the way we experience it a lot is like a frozen block of ice. It's the same substance, but it's two completely different experiences. But we have frozen this free-flowing thing and turned it into something it's not. And he goes through all kind of interesting analogies. I don't know. I was going to try to do more with that, but I haven't really worked it up yet. I mean, I've thought about it a lot over the years, but I've never really tried to put it into words, some of his different analogies, but that one is the main one. And it's so true. If you just let it flow like water, that's it, but usually you're like ice and you gotta unfreeze. But that's all you gotta do. It's the water's there, it's just been turned into something else, sort of, but it's not really something else. It's just unfreeze and bam. Not difficult, not much to say. I don't know. It's all in doing it. If you don't get some alignment going, it's not going to be that easy. If you don't get a lot of relaxation going, it's not going to be that easy. But there's another step in there. You got to recognize you're freezing everything. Which is what we do in Alexander. That's just exactly what we do in Alexander. We realize I'm frozen. What do I do? What do I do? Well, you just go run through your Alexander technique. You have a thought of ease, the thought of unfreezing right here. You unfreeze it right here. It's just a thought of it. It's like Drala. This is all Drala is what this is. This is 100% Drala. You just unfreeze right here, and then the whole thing unfreezes. And then the definition of Drala is above aggression. Before, you were a frozen piece of wood in your head and shoulders, and your whole body was a frozen piece of wood because the head and shoulders dictate. And you had separated yourself 100% from the heaven principle, the law principle, You were not rising above and merging with your lawness, non-aggression, peacefulness, indirect method. Talk a lot about the indirect method. You don't have a fight with anybody. If you see a fight coming, you take the indirect method and turn it into a dance, and turn it into a way of developing yourself further over and overcoming aggression. It's just a beautiful thing. Always challenging, always, always falling into the old trap. I don't think you're ever going to not fall into the old trap of turning the whole thing into a block of ice. You're never not going to fall into that trap, but you got the tools to arise. You got the tools to practice Drala, practice above aggression, beyond duality, beyond a conflict situation. And you just always freeing yourself to that, and then it's just play, it's just fun, it's just, then you're caught, When you get caught, you grab the wrong end of the stick, I like to say. You always end up grabbing the wrong end of the stick, but then you become a guy who can let go of that wrong end of the stick when you realize it, and that's it. That's all there is. That's all there is. You let go of grabbing the wrong end of the stick, and then you grab the wrong end of the stick, and then you let go of grabbing the wrong end of the stick, and then you grab the wrong end of the stick. How interesting. Alexander, we always say, and Trump Rinpoche said this, man. He said, you have to be interested in your world. You cannot just throw your world away, throw your life away and not be interested in it. You just become interested in your world, and you reach a point where it's just about letting go a little bit. Trump Rinpoche used to say, let go a little bit.